guys, Howard here with easy blues guitar riffs for beginning players. Okay, so this is really geared to those of you who are just picking up the instrument. Maybe you've got a few things going on and you want to get better, all right? So what I'm going to do is do a collection of blues riffs. There'll be a part 2 and maybe even a part 3 or 4 to this, but for now this is part 1. And I'm on my Tele, my electric guitar, but I'm using a clean tone. So this can be played on acoustic as well. All of this stuff can be played on acoustic, okay? Now, these riffs are all going to be an actual 12-bar blues, right? So they're not just sort of random riffs. It's going to be musical, and we're going to start off with something really simple and then build on that simplicity and getting a little bit more elaborate each time, okay? So I'm in the key of A, and I'm going to do a 12-bar blues in A using one simple riff. Now, what I'm going to do with these riffs is I'm going to play them at tempo first, and then break it down note by note, riff by riff, okay? So here we go with the first example. Now you'll notice that I'm using a click, and I think that's really important because it really helps you to hear and define the rhythmic phrases and play them properly, okay? So let's get into it. I'm going to use on-screen tab as I always do, but I'm also going to talk you through each bit of it for those of you who might not be too handy at reading tab yet or maybe don't even know. But I would encourage you to learn because it's going to open up a world of music for you, okay? So here we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move a singular riff, a simple riff, around a 1-4-5 blues progression. And if you don't know what that means yet, don't worry about it. You don't need to know that to just get into this lesson and get going. But if you want to find out more about that kind of stuff, there's a link in my description box below to my beginning blues guitar part 1, okay? So let's get right to the riff. I'm on the 5th fret on the 6th string using my first finger, and you want to pick that note twice. Now we're going to skip a string and a fret, so I'll be on the 4th string now on the 7th fret, one stroke of the pick, 5th fret, one stroke of the pick, so we have, okay, and then we want to move to the string that we skipped, the 7th fret on the 5th string, back to 5 on the 4th string, and then 7. So very slowly we have, want to play that riff 4 times, just like that, okay? Then what we want to do is slip that exact same fingering down one string toward our feet, okay? And we want to play it from that string. So we're doing the exact same thing. We're skipping a string, a fret, the whole thing. You just have to visualize it instead of being here as being here. So we want to play this. Play it twice there, okay? Then we want to bring it back to our original position and play it twice there as well. So we're playing 4, 2, 2. So let's do just that. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now what we want to do is we want to move to the 7th fret with our first finger on that 5th string and play the pattern 1 time from there. Again, so we're moving to the 7th fret now on the 5th string, but playing that exact same pattern. Then we want to move it back to the 5th fret, staying with the same strings, play it 1 time. So we're going, and then we want to move it back to that original, the first position, play it one time. So we have okay, and then we're going to form an E7 chord, okay? So how I'm doing that is placing my second finger on the 7th fret on the 5th string, and then my first finger is on the 6th fret on the 4th string right below it, and then I'm using my ring finger to play the 7th fret again on the G string. So we have 7, 6, 7. And what we're going to do with that is we're going to hit the 6th string open and then pick through the chord, just arpeggiate it. So once again, coming from that 7th fret, then we will have this. And you play the whole thing again, okay? So here it is, nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. Simply repeat the whole thing, okay? So let's go to the next example now. What I'm going to do with this one is we're basically using the same riff, but we're getting a lot more color into it. We're going to use double stops, which simply means playing 2 notes at a time, and we're going to have more moving lines between the patterns, okay? So once again, let me play it for you at tempo, and then we will break it all down, okay? Here we go. So as you can see, we've got quite a lot more going on, right? So we're getting a little bit more elaborate. But again, you just want to slow it down and do it bit by bit, okay? So we start off with the same basic riff, but we get into some double stops, 2 strings at a time right away. So we start with that same first note, 5th fret on the 6th string, picked twice. Then what we want to do is take that ring finger and bar it across the D string, the 4th string, and the G string, the 3rd string, at the 7th fret. So you want to use the flat of your finger to do that. Then using our first finger, we want to bar across those same 2 strings at the 5th fret. But in addition to that, we're going to take this second finger and hammer it up to the 6th fret on that 3rd string. So you're going to go. So now we have, and that's a great thing to practice right there. It's a classic blues move. And then we play what we did before, 7th fret on the A string, 5th fret on the D string, and 7th fret on the D string. So now we have. Now what we want to do here is come back and play the riff again, but we are replacing those last 3 notes with a different set of notes. So that's the open 6th string to the 3rd fret, and then to the 4th fret, and back to the riff, okay? And that's the complete riff. Right, and you're going to play that whole thing as a whole twice. But when you get to the tail end of it, instead of playing, we're going to move that to the 5th string so that we can walk into the D, or what is known as the 4 chord. So let me do that real slow. You can see the tab, of course, but let me do it real slow. string. Now what we're going to do is play that same riff as we did in the first riff by moving it all down a set of strings. But again, we are employing double stops, so we're going to play this. So what I'm doing now is, again, barring with that third finger across the second string and the third strings now. And then barring across both of those same strings at the 5th fret. But no hammer on this time, just a simple. And then we play the riff as we did before. So we have. Okay, and then we're going to move back to that first position again, right? So we want to jump up to the 6th string again so that we can walk back into that chord, okay? Now, I know you can see the tab on the screen, and hopefully that's coming together for you, but let me play all of that nice and slow. Take it up to the 7th fret, just like we did in the first riff, but we're going to have 3 different walking notes. We're going to be on the 4th fret on the A string or the 5th string. So we're going to walk 4, 5, 6 on that string, okay? That's really important because that's going to take us to the 5 chord where we play this. So you can see I did that exact same riff that we did at the 5th fret across those same strings. And then we're going to play a turnaround. It's called a turnaround because it takes us back to the beginning of the whole thing, okay? And turnarounds usually take up a couple of measures, right? And this one's really simple. We're on the 5th fret on the 6th string, 2 strokes of the pick, 3rd fret, 2nd fret, 1st fret, and then we're going to play that E7 chord again. So that turnaround along with the E7 chord sounds like this. And then we start the whole thing again, okay? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play the whole thing for you again, nice and slow. You can play along if you've gotten it up to speed, okay? But I'll play it nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so on and so forth. And the cool thing about this is once you get both of these down, you just string them together, right? You just play them back to back. So there you go with easy blues guitar riffs for beginning players, okay? I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and I will be doing a follow-up to this. And so all the best to everyone, and I shall see you in the next video. Hey guys, Howard here with easy blues guitar riffs for beginning players, okay? This is part 2. If you haven't seen part 1, please check that out. I think you might enjoy it. But the idea is that these are geared toward those of you who have just started playing. Maybe you've been playing for a few months or whatever, or even a few weeks, okay? And so all of these riffs are in a 12-bar blues format, which I think is really important because random riffs are just that, random riffs, right? But if you can learn a riff and really master it and then put it into the actual music like a 12-bar blues or whatever you may have, then you're really flying, okay? And as usual, I will be using on-screen tab, and I will be playing both of these examples at tempo. But by all means, you can slow them down. They're going to sound just as great, okay? And I will slow them down for you as well. We're going to go through it lick by lick, riff by riff, okay? And so anyway, let's just get started. And here's the first one in the key of G. Okay, let's jump right into it. I'm in the key of G, as mentioned earlier, and it's a 12-bar blues format, and it's just a singular riff, okay, or a singular riff with a little decoration, okay? So here we go, nice and slow. I'm on the 3rd fret on the 6th string, and you want to pick that note twice. And then we're doing a hammer-on from the 4th fret to the 5th fret on the A string. And then we move to the 3rd fret on the D string, back to the 5th fret on the A string, back to the 3rd fret on the D string, and finally to the 5th fret on the D string. So nice and slow with the tab on the screen. Of course, we have. And then we're going to play the riff again with a different decoration on the tail end. So we've got this much of the riff. And then instead of playing, we're barring across the G and the D strings at the 3rd fret. Hit both of those strings together and then hammer your 2nd finger to the 4th fret on the G string. That creates a G7 sound. And as with a 12-bar blues, we want to play that 2 times. And then we're going to move it to what is called the 4 chord. You can check out my beginning blues lesson if you're not familiar with some of these terms, but you don't need to know that technically to enjoy this lesson, okay? All right, so we move the whole riff down, meaning down towards your feet, 1 string. Right? It's the exact same pattern, exact same fingering across 3 strings, but just using the 5th, the 4th, and the 3rd strings instead. Now, the only bit that's going to change is that what's known as a double stop. Instead, we're going to slide using the G string and the B strings from the 4th fret to the 5th. So the pattern will be. And I use my 2nd finger for that, but feel free to use whatever finger works best for you. And we will play that 1 time in a true 12-bar blues fashion. Then we bring it back to the first pattern, which is known as the 1 chord, G7, and we play it 1 time. So as always, it's 2, 1, 1. So what we have so far is this. Okay, then we're going to stay with that A string, the 5th string, and we're going to move the riff up to the 5th fret. But it's the same riff, but we're only playing half of the riff in that position. One more time. And then we play the second half of the riff back at the 3rd fret, but still on the same string, the 5th string. right? So here we have it. And then we return to the original position and we're going to play this. Just that much of the riff. Again, the first half, if you will. And then we're forming a D7 sharp 9 chord, a la Jimi Hendrix and so many others. And we're just arpeggiating the chord. You can see the chord on the screen, but let me spell that out for you. 5th fret on the 5th string, 4th fret on the 4th string, 5th fret again on the 3rd string, and then 6th fret on the B string. And we just arpeggiate the chord again right through it. So here's the whole thing, nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just repeat it, okay? So there you go with the first riff in this particular lesson. So let's move on to the second one. Once again, I'll just play it for you at tempo and then we're going to break it all down. But a quick note, this one is in a shuffle feel, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. For this next riff, we're going to keep it in a simple 8th note drive, okay? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and you'll see what I mean when you hear it, okay? Here we go. Okay, let's get into this one as well. Again, as mentioned earlier, we are in a straight 8th note feel. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and we're in the key of E for this one. So a couple of notes here. You might want to use some slight palm muting back here to keep the strings from all moshing together and give it kind of a tight percussive sound. So you just rest this side of your hand across the strings as they come out of the saddle on your bridge, okay? And each guitar is a little bit different. You know, a Strat's different from a Tele, from a Les Paul. But you can find that sweet spot where you're getting that nice thump instead of... Right? Just mute enough to give it that sound. You don't want to deaden the strings too much, okay? So what we have going here is we've got the 2nd fret on the A string, and in combination with that, we're using the open E string, the 6th string, and we want to pick those strings together twice. Then we're playing 2 single notes, 3rd fret on the 6th fret, excuse me, 3rd fret on the 6th string to the 4th fret on the 6th string. So we have... And then we return to that fingering, 2nd fret on the A string, open E string, and we're going to play. So it's 2 pick strokes for the 2nd fret, and then use your ring finger to go to the 4th fret on the A string, keeping that open E string in it the whole time, 1 time, and back. So for that part of the pattern we have, and then we put the 2 together. Repeat that, okay? We're going to play it 3 times. Normally you would play it 4, but we're going to use the 4th go around for a walk up into what's called the 4 chord, okay? So we're going to have this. Walk up is all on the 6th string, as you can see, and we're playing each of those notes twice. Open, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, 4th fret. And then, as with all blues, we're going to take the riff to the next two strings, meaning we're starting with the A string, which is going to be the open string now, the fifth string, but we're playing the pattern the same, just two strings down toward your feet, if you will. And we're playing it twice, okay? And then we move it back to the original pattern and we play it twice. So in this case, it's a 4-2-2 pattern, okay? So let's put all of that together, starting with the first one. And then we move to what's called the 5 chord. In this case, it would be a B in the key that we're in. And we're playing a power chord shape. So we're on the 2nd fret on the A string and the 4th fret on the D string, okay? And we want to pick those twice. Now, I use my pinky to do this, and if you're just getting started on guitar, that might be a little bit wicked, right? Okay, so feel free to jump up with your ring finger or whatever finger works best for you. But the pattern is like this. So I'm playing 5 to 6 on that D string now. Again, you can play it if you just want to jump over with a more comfortable fingering, but I would encourage you to get used to using all 4 fingers because it's just great, right? You can do so much more. So we have. Now what we're doing here is we're barring across the G string and the D string at the 4th fret. Picking those strings twice, and then we're laying down the 3rd finger to the 6th fret on the D string. Not both strings, just the one. So it's 2 strokes of the pick, one with the 3rd finger down, and then back. So we have. Okay, and then we're going to move back to A, and we're going to play the pattern that we played before. But we're adding that little bit to it. We're copying this. So again, you can see the tab on the screen, of course, but this is what I'm playing. Gives it a little bit of color, right? So we have. And then we're going to play a turnaround. I'll take you through it all nice and slow as soon as we get through this. So the turnaround is. So again, we're playing each of those notes 2 times. Open 6th string, same string at the 4th fret, next string open, and then next string at the 1st fret. And then we're falling into a B7 shape, which is 2nd fret on the A string, 1st fret on the D string, and 2nd fret on the G string. And again, just like we did in the previous riff, we're just arpeggiating the chord. So we start from that 5th string and move all the way to the 2nd. So that turnaround is going to be. So here's the whole entire 12 bars, nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there you go with easy blues guitar riffs for beginners, those of you just getting started, okay? And there's a bunch of other cool stuff in the description box below, more blues lessons for you guys, as well as access to my complete blues rock guitar course, which just takes you from beginning to intermediate to advanced, okay? So thanks again for watching, and thanks to everyone for subscribing. I just received the Silver Award from YouTube, which is really cool, and I have you guys to thank for that. So have a great week, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Hi guys, Howard here with easy blues rock guitar riffs for beginner or maybe even post-beginner players to intermediate if you'd like, okay? So I'm on my telly and I'm running it through a Rude mouse distortion pedal from the wonderful people at Sonicake, and I'm running that straight into my Orange Crush RT20 practice amp, okay? So I've got a little bit of dirt on it, but as a note, you can certainly play these riffs on acoustic guitar as well, okay? There's no problem there at all, but I do like a little grease on it. It makes it sound nice and rocking. So here we go. First things first. Now, each of these riffs is along the lines of classic Zeppelin, Aerosmith, Deep Purple with Ritchie Blackmore, even the Allman Brothers if you'd like, okay? So as usual, I'm just going to play each one at tempo, the first one at tempo, and then I'm going to break it down note by note, okay? So here we go. All right, let's dive right into this first riff. You can see the tab up on the screen, but let me play it for you nice and slow. So I think you can see pretty clearly which fingers I'm using there. You can use alternate picking. You can probably just use downstrokes if you want to, if it's not too fast for you. Or you can just mix it up, right? However you want to do it, whatever feels best for you is totally cool. Just one mention there on that double stop, which wraps its head around a G7 chord. I'm sliding from the 2nd fret on the D string and the 3rd fret on the G string to a half step up to the 3rd fret and the 4th fret, and give it a nice little vibrato that gives it a little flavor. And you want to play that riff twice. And then of course we're moving it to the 4 chord, so we want to take it to the next string, the A string, and play the same riff from there, except the double stop will change slightly. It'll be on the B and the G strings, and you'll slide a half step to the 5th fret, okay? So from there, it will go like this. And again, for that double stop, I'm using my 2nd finger, but please feel free to use whatever finger you'd like. If you want to use the 1st finger or the 3rd, any way you want to do it is going to be fine. And of course, this is a 12-bar blues, so we will play that riff one time, okay? So we've got 2, 1, and then we're going to bring it back to the original riff off of the 6th string and play it once again. So we have 2, 1, 1. And of course, now we want to take it up to the 5 chords, so we bring the riff once again off of the A string, okay? But bring it up to the 5th fret, and we want to play the exact same pattern. But that's all we want to play on what's known as the 5 chord, the D. Then bring it back to the 4 chord, once again the 3rd fret off of the A string, and we want to play this. So we're simply taking the entire riff and dividing it up between the 2 chords, the 5 chord and the 4 chord. And then we play the turnaround, which is pretty simple, and that is this. Okay, and at the end we have an E flat 7 chord, which is the 6th fret on the A string, 5th fret on the D string, and then 6th fret again on the G string, and then just slip that down a half step to make a D7, okay? So the whole thing is like this. And you could start the whole thing over again or go into a different pattern. All right, now diving into this second riff, it's a little bit busier and it's got some pull-offs and stuff like that going on. It's kind of classic sort of, you know, Led Zeppelin, Moby Dick, Ritchie Blackmore, Rat Bat Blue, even the Allman Brothers, One Way Out, that type of thing, okay? So we are in the key of E, and once again you can see the tab up on the screen, and I will play it slowly as usual. As a special note, you can see me kind of doing some light muting in my left hand. That's to make the notes pop out, sound slightly staccato, but most importantly so that they don't ring together and get kind of grubby, right? So you can mute slightly back here if you want, but I kind of use it popping my fingers, if you will. But at the same time, you can see that I do have a little bit of muting going on back here, right? So as always with a 12-bar blues, we want to play that, the 1 chord, the E in this case, 2 times. And then of course we're going to move it to the 4 chord, which is A, so we simply take the whole riff down 1 set of strings towards our feet, okay? So we're playing it off of the A string now. And we want to play it 1 time there, and then back to the 1 chord, E, 1 time. As always, 2, 1, 1. To the 5 chord, which is B, and this is very reminiscent once again of like Moby Dick or One Way Out, but let me play that slow for you as well. One more time. And then we're going to do the same thing at A, but we'll use open strings, of course. So we have, and then we move back to the 1 chord and we play this. So let me do that real nice and slow because the tag is obviously different when you slam that B7 chord, right? So here we go. Okay, so here's how the whole thing goes. So there you go with easy blues rock riffs for beginners or post-beginners to intermediate players. I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and once again, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. I try to post a new video at least once a week, sometimes a little bit more. And if you haven't become a member of the channel yet, you might want to check that out. There's a lot of really good tutorials in the members only area, right? And for less than $5, a penny shy of $5 a month, you can have access to all those videos, okay? So anyway, once again, I hope you enjoyed it, and I shall see you guys in the next video.